In the world of wrestling, where everything is measured by strength, spirit, and sheer guts, there exists a group of men and women who dared to step beyond the ropes into an even harsher battlefield, MMA. In that arena, there are no scripts, no performances, only real strikes, real blood, and real pain. These WWE stars proved they weren't just entertainers, but true warriors, willing to enter the cage and face some of the most dangerous fighters on the planet. Today, we look back at the toughest wrestlers who ever fought in MMA, those who turned pure daring into lasting legend. Let's get started. Wrestling Sphere, go! Batista, the WWE giant who stepped into the MMA cage. Batista, a name that commands respect across the wrestling world, not just for his massive physique and brutal fighting style, but for his courage to test himself in any arena. Fans knew him as the Animal, a destructive force in WWE known for devastating finishes. But few remember that Batista once walked away from the spotlight of WWE to chase a different dream, to become a real MMA fighter. In 2012, at 43 years old, an age where most MMA fighters are already retired, Batista started from zero. He signed with CES MMA and trained relentlessly for his debut against Vince Lucero, a seasoned brawler. Many doubted him, assuming he just wanted attention or to polish his image. But once the cage door shut, he proved everyone wrong. From the opening bell, the Animal dominated. Using his overwhelming size and power, Batista relentlessly pressed Lucero, unleashing hammer-like takedowns and vicious ground and pound. Midway through the first round, the referee intervened. TKO victory, Batista. It wasn't just a win, it was a statement. Batista showed he wasn't just a showman, he was a real fighter. Yet, despite that impressive debut, he chose not to pursue MMA further. He knew that at his age, committing long-term to such a brutal sport was nearly impossible. Instead, he shifted toward Hollywood, quickly rising to global fame as Drax the Destroyer in Guardians of the Galaxy. Even with just one MMA fight, Batista left a permanent mark. He proved that true fighting spirit isn't defined by age or fame. When the Animal steps forward, the world watches with respect. Shinsuke Nakamura, the charismatic warrior who brought MMA swagger to WWE. Shinsuke Nakamura, a name admired across the wrestling universe. He's not only the embodiment of Japan's legendary strong style, but also the perfect blend of technique, aura, and unmatched swagger. Before conquering NJPW and later WWE, few realized that Nakamura briefly walked the path of an MMA fighter, and he did it with unforgettable style. From 2002 to 2004, just as his pro wrestling career was taking off, Nakamura competed in 4 MMA bouts. His record, 3 wins, 1 loss, an impressive feat for someone from the wrestling world. He wasn't a power-based fighter. Instead, he relied on fluid movement, razor-sharp kicks, and refined grappling skills built from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Though he didn't stay long in MMA, he proved he could survive in a realm where every punch or submission could end a career. At one point, his MMA success drew the attention of the UFC, who expressed interest in signing him. Nakamura declined. He knew exactly what path he wanted. In one interview, he said, "It's been a long time since I trained MMA seriously. I still practice jiu-jitsu, but if I were to fight again, I'd need at least a year to prepare. And honestly, I'm happy in WWE." That choice opened the brightest chapter of his life. Nakamura became one of the rare international stars to win over fans in both Japan and the United States, carrying the aura of the king of strong style wherever he went. Though he never fully committed to MMA, Shinsuke Nakamura remains remembered as the definition of cool, a free-spirited warrior who crossed worlds just to prove he could. Alberto Del Rio, the WWE aristocrat who entered the cage like a true warrior. Alberto Del Rio, a name synonymous with luxury, pride, and aristocratic elegance in WWE. He debuted in 2010, arriving in a gleaming limousine, wearing a smug smile, and carrying elite grappling skills that made any opponent wary. It didn't take long for Del Rio to prove himself. He won the 2011 Royal Rumble, captured multiple world championships, and cemented his place as one of WWE's top stars. But behind the image of a refined Mexican aristocrat, Del Rio carried the blood of a real fighter, and MMA became the place where he showed it. Before rising to fame in WWE, Del Rio, real name Alberto Rodriguez, began his combat career in MMA rings across Japan and Mexico. After leaving WWE, he returned to the cage to finish what he had started. Across 15 professional fights, Del Rio earned 9 victories, most by technical submission. It proved he wasn't just physically strong, he was a tactical fighter with high-level grappling skill. One of Del Rio's most notable fights took place on December 7, 2019, when he faced UFC legend Tito Ortiz. The match drew major attention not only for the names involved, but for an unusual wager. Del Rio put up his replica WWE Championship belt. After losing to Ortiz, he honored his word and handed over the belt, like a man of honor. After the fight, Del Rio admitted that modern MMA had evolved rapidly, making it difficult for a grappling-heavy fighter like him to keep pace. Yet he held no regrets. "I walked out with pride. No injuries, no shame. I fought Tito Ortiz, a legend, and that's an honor." Though he never reached the same heights in MMA as he did in WWE, Alberto Del Rio still deserves to be called a certified badass, a man who dared to enter the cage, challenged himself, and fought with the pride of a true warrior. Jack Gallagher, the polite gentleman with a fighter's heart in MMA. Jack Gallagher, known to WWE fans as Gentleman Jack, was one of the most unique and entertaining figures to ever step into 205 Live. With his polished appearance, classic curled mustache, and aristocratic British demeanor, many assumed he was just a comedic character. But behind that calm smile was a true fighter who had already stepped inside an MMA cage to prove he could speak not just with charm, but with fists and grappling skill. Before signing with WWE in 2016, Gallagher spent years wrestling independently across Europe, but few knew he also competed in professional MMA, with a perfect record. From 2015 to 2016, he fought in 2 professional MMA bouts and won them both. Gallagher didn't rely on brute force. Instead, he impressed with a smart, technical style, using superior grappling and agile movement to control his opponents and finish with precision. What made Gallagher stand out even more was how he carried his gentlemanly persona into the cage. He never lost his composure, never screamed, and never threw wild strikes. He moved calmly, struck accurately, and maintained eerie focus, truly embodying a gentleman fighter. Because of that, he earned real respect within the MMA community, despite his short career in the sport. In an interview, Gallagher once said he never fully closed the door on MMA. "In theory, yes. If a major promotion came to me and asked if I'd fight MMA again, I'd say yes. I just need to talk with WWE about how to make it work." Though he has since left WWE, his legacy remains. A courteous gentleman in the ring, but inside the cage, Jack Gallagher was a genuine badass, cold, calculated, and undeniably bold. Jack Swagger, the two-world giant, from WWE rings to the MMA cage. Jake Hager, known to WWE fans as Jack Swagger, is living proof that strength, discipline, and competitive spirit never fade, no matter the arena. Before joining WWE, Hager was a true athlete, competing in dual sports at the University of Oklahoma and earning All-American honors, a distinction reserved for the very best collegiate wrestlers in the United States. That foundation made him one of the most technically skilled grapplers of his generation. In WWE, Jack Swagger made an immediate impact. With a towering frame, icy expression, and hard-hitting style, he climbed to the top, capturing the World Heavyweight Championship in 2010. But over time, his momentum slowed, and he slipped into the mid-card, far from the spotlight he once commanded. By 2017, Hager made a daring decision. He left WWE. But instead of walking away from combat sports, Hager chose a more brutal test, MMA. On November 13, 2017, he signed with Bellator MMA, competing in the heavyweight division, a realm reserved for true warriors. His debut came in late 2018, and he shocked everyone with a dominant first-round submission. From there, Hager maintained momentum, earning a record of 3 wins, 0 losses, 1 no contest within his first 2 years. He showed not just raw power, but remarkable adaptability, juggling a career in AEW while training intensely for MMA. Jake Hager stands as one of the rare WWE wrestlers who successfully transformed into a legitimate professional fighter. He didn't fight just to win. He fought to prove that a warrior's spirit and relentless willpower are what truly define a certified badass. Daniel Puder, the rebel who challenged a legend and stayed undefeated in MMA. Daniel Puder isn't remembered in WWE for championships, but for one unforgettable moment, the night he nearly snapped Kurt Angle's arm live on SmackDown. Born in California, Puder was a confident young fighter who won Tough Enough 2004, WWE's talent competition. With his solid build, cocky demeanor, and aggressive style, many believed he'd become a breakout star. But his rebellious nature had other plans. During the infamous incident with Kurt Angle, when Puder locked him in a real Kimura submission, he unintentionally put the Olympic hero in serious danger. Instead of boosting his career, the stunt upset many backstage. By late 2005, Puder was released from WWE, ending his run before it ever truly began. Refusing to fade away, Daniel Puder returned to his first passion, MMA. From 2003 to 2009, he fought in 8 professional bouts, and won every single one, remaining undefeated. Focused heavily on grappling and positional control, Puder proved he wasn't just a wrestler dabbling in MMA, he was a genuine combat athlete with strategy and technique. In a 2020 interview with Chris Van Vliet, when asked if he would face Kurt Angle inside the octagon, Puder responded with trademark audacity. "I'd take that fight. But if he's still using Vicodin like he once mentioned, I don't think he'd even pass a drug test." Though retired from competition, Daniel Puder is still remembered as one of WWE's most notorious badasses. A man who dared to confront legends, spoke his mind without fear, and most importantly, never tasted defeat inside an MMA cage. Bobby Lashley, the true destroyer of both WWE and MMA. One look at Bobby Lashley and you immediately understand why they call him a wrecking machine. Muscles like forged steel, reflexes like a predator, and a relentless fighting spirit make him the perfect hybrid of wrestling and MMA. While most know him as a dominant force in WWE, few truly recognize how successful he was inside the world of mixed martial arts. After leaving WWE in 2008, Lashley didn't rest like many stars do. He launched headfirst into a new mission, MMA. With an elite amateur wrestling background, an NCAA national champion, he proved he wasn't just a wrestler trying MMA. He was a legitimate combat athlete. Over more than a decade of competition, Lashley fought 17 times, winning 15 and losing only 2, a record that even many full-time fighters envy. Lashley's style was pure wrestling dominance. He used explosive takedowns, crushing top control, and overwhelming strength. Several opponents have admitted that being taken down by Lashley felt like being hit by a truck. Yet his greatest weapon wasn't just power, it was professionalism. Lashley remained in peak condition year-round, constantly evolving his striking to adapt to modern MMA. All the while, he continued performing in major wrestling promotions. When he returned to WWE, he quickly reclaimed championship gold. But he never closed the door on MMA. In a 2020 interview, Lashley openly stated, "I'll fight until my body says no. I just talked with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. We discussed the possibility of a bare knuckle match." Whether in the cage or the ring, Bobby Lashley radiates the aura of a true badass, a man born to fight, driven by challenge, and unafraid of any opponent alive. Dan Severn, the original beast of wrestling and MMA. Before UFC became a global phenomenon, before names like Brock Lesnar or Ronda Rousey crossed into MMA, there was one man who paved the way, Dan the Beast Severn. He wasn't just a wrestling legend. He was one of the true pioneers who helped MMA earn worldwide recognition. Severn began his professional wrestling career in 1992. With a foundation in Olympic-style freestyle wrestling, he quickly caught attention with his raw strength, emotionless demeanor, and near-unbreakable control over his opponents. In 1997, he entered WWE with a presence unlike anyone else. No flashy promos, no theatrics, just a cold stare and a body built for battle. His WWE stint may have been brief, but it left a lasting message. This man was dangerous for real. But the most defining chapter of his life unfolded outside the wrestling ring. Severn stepped into MMA in 1994, debuting at UFC 4, back when the sport was brutally raw. No gloves, no time limits, almost no rules. And he went headfirst into it, facing specialists from every fighting discipline. With superior wrestling and calculated strategy, he became a nightmare for anyone he faced. Over 2 decades, Severn competed in 127 professional MMA fights, winning 101, a record that borders on the impossible. He captured multiple titles across different organizations, including the UFC Superfight Championship, and played a crucial role in transforming MMA from an underground spectacle into a structured sport. His legacy was immortalized with an induction into the UFC Hall of Fame at UFC 52, confirming that Dan Severn was more than just the Beast. He was one of the toughest, most fearless men to ever compete in combat sports. A living legend, respected by both wrestling and MMA alike. Brock Lesnar, the hybrid beast of WWE and UFC. When it comes to the most intimidating and genuinely fearsome figures in WWE history, few can surpass Brock Lesnar, a man with near-inhuman power, speed, and predatory instinct. Though his first WWE run lasted only from 2002 to 2004, that short span was enough to make him a phenomenon. He wasn't just the next big thing, as WWE promoted. He was a storm that tore through anyone in his path, destroying names like The Rock, Kurt Angle, and The Undertaker. After leaving WWE in 2004, Lesnar didn't choose the easy road. He stepped into the brutal world of MMA, a realm with no scripts, no choreography, only real blood, sweat, and pain. Many doubted a professional wrestler could survive in the UFC cage. Brock Lesnar silenced them all. Debuting in MMA in 2008, he quickly signed with UFC, the most ruthless combat arena on the planet. Within just a few fights, he proved he wasn't just a marketing attraction. He was a real fighter. At UFC 100, Lesnar defeated Frank Mir in a legendary bout, successfully defending the UFC Heavyweight Championship and cementing himself as a real-life monster. With brute strength, wrestling dominance, and relentless aggression, he became UFC's top draw, breaking pay-per-view records. His success in UFC sent his star power into overdrive, and when he returned to WWE in 2012, he was no longer just a superstar. He was a wrecking machine. Lesnar became the highest-paid attraction, a special attraction who could end matches in minutes. He remains one of the very few men to conquer both WWE and UFC. Brock Lesnar is not just a wrestler, not just a fighter. He is the embodiment of raw intensity, discipline, and primal force. A true beast incarnate, and unquestionably one of the most badass men to ever step into either ring or cage. Ken Shamrock, the trailblazer between WWE and MMA. Before the idea of a wrestler transitioning to MMA became common, Ken Shamrock had already paved that path. He wasn't just a fighter, nor just a wrestler. He was the living embodiment of ferocity, daring, and unbreakable will. Shamrock began his pro wrestling career in 1989, quickly standing out with his aggressive fighting style and warrior's presence. When he arrived in WWE, then WWF, he brought a level of grappling realism that made fans say, "This man is truly dangerous." During his WWE run, Shamrock captured the Intercontinental Championship, won the 1998 King of the Ring, and earned the nickname, the world's most dangerous man. That moniker was no gimmick. It was reality. At the height of his wrestling career, Shamrock made a bold decision no one else dared to take. He stepped into MMA, a world where every strike and submission is real. He joined UFC in its raw early years, when the sport had almost no rules. And he didn't just survive, he dominated. With a career record of 28 wins, 17 losses, and 2 draws, Shamrock became one of MMA's earliest icons, helping transform UFC from an underground spectacle into a global sport. In 2003, alongside his legendary rival Royce Gracie, Shamrock was inducted as one of the first 2 members of the UFC Hall of Fame. Dana White said during the ceremony, "No one deserves it more than Royce and Ken. They weren't just pioneers, they were the foundation that allowed MMA to exist today." Ken Shamrock is the symbol of pure fighting spirit, a man who faced real pain, real blood, and kept rising after every war. He didn't just inspire future stars like Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley, he proved one undeniable truth. With enough will and toughness, a pro wrestler can become a legend in the world of real combat. Ronda Rousey, the warrior of 2 worlds. When it comes to athletes who embody the raw spirit of MMA while conquering the grand stage of WWE, no one fits that title better than Ronda Rousey, the woman who shattered every barrier between both worlds. Before ever stepping into a WWE ring, Rousey was already a global icon, a relentless storm in the UFC, and the figure who forced the world to rethink the power of women in combat sports. Ronda began with judo, reaching its pinnacle by winning a bronze medal at the 2008 Olympics, becoming the first American woman to ever medal in Olympic judo. But she wasn't done. Leaving judo behind, Ronda entered MMA and immediately redefined the meaning of dominance. In her first 12 professional fights, she won all 12, most of them within seconds, using her devastating signature armbar. In 2012, she became the first female fighter to sign with UFC, and shortly after, she was crowned the inaugural UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion. Her fame exploded far beyond the octagon. Rousey became a movie star, a feminist icon, and the driving force that put women's MMA on the global map. When she joined WWE in 2018, many doubted whether she could adapt to sports entertainment. But within months, Ronda proved that a true warrior's instincts cannot be faked. She captured the Raw Women's Championship, delivered unforgettable matches against Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Natalya, and turned every appearance into must-see television. Ronda didn't just bring real combat skills to WWE, she brought the mindset of a true fighter: ferocity, discipline, and fearlessness. She stands as proof that women can dominate the two most unforgiving arenas in the world, MMA and WWE. Today, even after stepping away from full-time competition, Ronda Rousey remains an enduring symbol of strength, a trailblazer for female wrestlers and fighters alike. From the octagon to WrestleMania, she is still the baddest woman on the planet, a title no one can dispute. From WWE to MMA, these athletes proved that sports entertainers can become true fighters. So, which one earned your deepest respect? Drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe so you don't miss any of Wrestling Sphere's upcoming videos.